you on. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side. My love, you say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
right, welcome back, everybody. We've got another grand finals here on the docket today. It's going to be our grandmaster tier of our NA league here. It's going to be the Shadow Monarchs versus the Lijiang Legion. I am joined tonight by Dexatron, and I just want to know, are you ready to go, bro?
Man, I've been looking forward to this ever since my team lost this afternoon. This could be a great series here tonight. Both these teams, regular season 3-1 on the season. And, you know, so far throughout this tournament have looked really good so far as well.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams obviously proving themselves to be forces of nature in this Grand Masters tier, pushing into the tournament and getting to this Grand Finals. And speaking of the tournament, we'll get a look at our bracket here. Shadow Monarchs beating Danger Close 2 in 3-1 fashion in the semifinals, and Lijiang Legion 3-0 over the Cat Commanders to get to where we are today. And what an exciting day it is. Our first match, or our first map for the Grand Finals is going to be Busan, but before we get a look at our maps, we're going to get a look at our lineups. First up, we've got the Shadow Monarchs with Breezy and Mr. Leapfrog on the damage line. Wildcard holding it down in the front line on the tank, and Water and Vex in the back line.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. They beat Danger Close 2 in that first round of the mid-season tournament here right now. That's actually a little bit of a revenge game for the Shadow Monarchs right there. They lost to Danger Close 2 in the opening week of the season here in a close Map 5 series. They lost 3-2 there. Got some revenge in the previous round, and now looking to carry that momentum up here against the Lijiang Legion right now, who, again, came into this one. They won their last series in a sweeping fashion, and I believe this is going to be a great match tonight here for these two teams.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. So let's get a look at that Lijiang Legion lineup. It's gonna be Random Rager and Potato Lord on the DPS, Shadow Thief on the tank, and Fives and Jabberwocky on the back lines on that support line. So, you know, once again, a pretty strong roster going in here. Our first map, like I said earlier, because it's a smaller bracket. I was wrong. I think that since it's only 2 rounds, it's gonna be Ilios. Ilios is the second round map for everything, but you know, the bigger brackets got to a third round. Their third round would have been Busan, but here in the GM lineup, or the GM tier, it's gonna be Ilios. So, what are you expecting going into beautiful Greece here?
I mean, the 3 different maps on Ilios here can lead to a lot of different playstyles. Ruins, in my opinion, is definitely one where you might see some hit scan or some long-range characters like a Widowmaker, a Hanzo, and Ashe. A Cassie be played a decent amount here. But again, everything kind of revolves around that tank here. And Lijiang Legion, their tank, you know, Shadow Thief, we saw them with that Wrecking Ball there on the lineup screen. That is still their favorite tank to play. I don't necessarily know how much value they're going to be getting out of a ball here tonight. I still think we're going to be we're going to mostly be seeing still an Orisa. If anything else off that, maybe we see a Sigma. Ryan showed up a little bit in some of my previous games I've casted, so maybe we see Ryan. But if we're going to see any dive tonight, I don't think it'll be the Winston dive that, you know, we're kind of used to. I think it'll be more of the Diva dive that has been kind of on the rise here lately.
Yeah, and I mean, the Diva provides a lot of appeal, and you can just go when you want to go with the Diva. It's more of a counter dive than anything else with the Diva for the most part. The other things, you know, the Orisa, which has been long dominant for the past month or so. You know, the sit down in one spot and don't die challenge. That has looked pretty, even with the slight nerfs Orisa got, still looking very, very viable. And then for some other options, you know, the Zarya has been gaining popularity. So I'm looking to see which one these teams are going to decide to come out on, because I think all of them have their merits. But with the Zarya, you have to play fast. you can't allow the Orisa to sit for too long without getting uncomfortable. You have to force the issue. So I like seeing like a Lucio with the Zarya, playing it like the Rhine Rush of old, and just running it into their faces. And especially with that new bubble, you have to be really unselfish with your bubbles if you want to get max value out of Zarya these days. Because the buff that she did receive was pretty big, but it was only on her projected barrier. So I just, I want to see what these teams are going to rock out on. And I guess we'll see in a minute if Fives ever joins the lobby.
Yeah, but speaking of that Zarya, I don't think we could see Zarya here on Ilios, but I don't think Control is probably the right map for Zarya, especially with the high grounds that Ilios does have on a couple of their maps. They're allowing the supports to get up there, kind of get set up. You want that Zarya, maybe another one like an Escort or a hybrid, a little bit there to kind of even at the playing fields a little bit, because one team guarding one spot kind of makes it a little bit easier for the Zarya to get going. But yeah, still waiting for one player to get in here for the Lijiang Legion. But I mean, just looking at these two teams' lineups here, I mean, Lijiang Legion has 3 subs that we could see throughout the night at any point. And, I believe as well, Shadow Monarchs, they have a couple subs as well. I believe they had about 4 or 5, so a whole squad sitting on the bench right there. And while in the past game so far, this tournament, I haven't seen a lot of subs come out from any of the teams. I would not be surprised if we see situational subs come out here tonight for these teams.
Yeah, unfortunately though, we're still having a little bit of trouble getting one of the players for the Lijiang Legion into the lobby. So we're gonna kick it to a break, and hopefully, me and Dex were on the mic the other day and we had some pause issues, but hopefully it won't be that bad, and we'll just get in here in a few minutes once we get this last player in the lobby. So stick around. You won't want to miss our Grand Master Grand Finals here. All right, welcome back. We're good to go. We've got the last player for the Lijiang Legion in the lobby, and we will be getting into Ilios here very soon. Dex, you were talking about it just a second ago. You're kind of expecting Lijiang Legion to come out on a dive, and for Shadow Monarchs, something a little more brawly. So can you speak that out a little bit? Well,
I mean, I'm saying Lijiang Legion maybe coming out on something of a dive or a little bit of a rush here, but they're kind of teasing us right now that they're not doing that. But I was kind of going off their starting tank there and their favorite hero, most played hero being that Wrecking Ball. Maybe they want to try to play something a little bit fast, but I mean, at the moment they look like they're going to try to just go with the main meta at the moment, which is that Orisa. Shadow Monarchs, we didn't get to see what their tank was going to come out with, but I do expect to see a brawl kind of style come out from them there. Their favorite tank to play is Reinhardt. Most played is Reinhardt, but I would not be surprised to see him kind of fall into that Orisa at the moment. But as I keep saying this,
wait a minute. You know what? Worst comes to worst, this is an interesting game to watch.
This is really interesting considering Shadow Monarchs is basically kind of running what I thought Lijiang Legion would, and Lijiang Legion is not necessarily running the Orisa comp that they're kind of built around right now with random Rager there on the Bastion, but they're coming out with Sigma, a more pokey kind of tank in my opinion. So this could be really interesting to see what they're trying to do here, especially with Potato Lord sticking on the Symmetra, because normally I would think it's a TP and then you immediately swap over to something that has a little bit more viability, but if you can get those turrets set up on point, it can be very deadly.
Yeah, and one thing that has been really, really strong with the Symmetra recently especially is the propensity to try and TP onto someone as a sort of faux dive, and we see it there, Jabberwocky and Potato Lord jumping on to Leapfrog there. I don't know if the TP was out there, but Leapfrog does die first, and Shadow Monarchs gonna have to back out here without their Tracer. Switching over to the Hanzo though, so Lijiang Legion gets the first flip with just a pick onto Leapfrog, who, okay, they're switching everything.
Yeah, and honestly, this is kind of what I thought that we would see from Shadow Monarchs here. Wildcard coming out on the Reinhardt. They said that there's their favorite tank to play. It might be their best character here, so not a big shock there, but you see the DPS swap as well, going to a Symmetra of their own here, and Breezy going over to a Hanzo. Maybe trying to find an early pickoff here if they can get lucky, for the TP to the backline there might be a great start here.
Oh my goodness, Wildcard starting us off here with a pin off the map onto random Rager. Leapfrog able to clean up fives, and we'll get taken down by Shadow Thief there, but at 40% here, it's gonna be Shadow Monarchs taking the flip.
Yeah, and honestly, they found the right person to get out of that team fight first. Finding random Rager was such a big deal for Shadow Monarchs there. It got rid of that main source of damage for Lijiang Legion, and you're immediately seeing Lijiang Legion now making some swaps here to a dive comp, and they're coming out with Winston, but that's really the only swap they're making here. Just Shadow Thief trying to maybe counter out Leapfrog and Wildcard here, or maybe just try to get into that backline and take care of Vex or Water.
The problem is that who's going to be healing Shadow Thief when he does do these dives? I mean, it's not like the support line is particularly great at that, the long-range healing. So I'm interested to see how this is going to work, because it's a really weird comp that they're running right now. Water, able to get away after the nano boost on to Wildcard. Shadow Thief able to find C Breezy with the dive, but it's still leaning toward the direction of Shadow Monarchs, and the Shatter gets blocked! Oh no! Shadow Thief drops the bubble, and the Shatter from Wildcard, which would have hit 3 people, gets thrown right into the bubble, but it's okay for the side of Shadow Monarchs. It's just Fives and Jabberwocky left on the point. So that should be them ready to, keep going.
A very hectic fight there with some ultimates that did not think needed to be used there from Shadow Monarchs. So the Shatter and the Dragons came out there from Breezy, but you see the amplification coming out here from Jabberwocky to get everything started, and it's working out to perfection so far.
Yeah, 2 found really fast there, unfortunately, for the Shadow Monarchs, and now Lijiang Legion pressing the issue, getting these kills, push up further, trying to, well, maybe not trying to get a stagger on to Water. But Water's still alive. And see, Breezy kills Potato Lord! How did Water get out of that?
This has been a very interesting first round so far here. I mean, the previous team fight before this was kind of extended a little bit with Lijiang. Legion supports kind of, you know, staying alive there, but Random Rage are getting a slept right here, having the Pulse Bomb, forcing Shadow Thief to use their own Primal Rage here right now. I mean, Legion does have some ultimates ready to go here. They do have the point, and they should be able to win this team fight. However, they just need to be able to find a pick here. Water, still alive, like you said, is amazing here, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a miracle that Water lived through all of that. Has the nano boost. Potato Lord throwing out the dragon, forcing the entirety of Shadow Monarchs to the left and finding the pick on to Leapfrog. The nano boost goes out on to Wildcard, the beat to try and counter it out, but Jabberwocky gets found out, and it's just Potato Lord left with no help on that side of the point. And Shadow Thief and Fives on the other side, and just the Lucio left here, and that will probably okay, we're maybe got one more fight.
Fives need to get out there if they really want to have one more chance. This Fives needs to be the person to get back here now. They're desperately trying to get there. Looks like they're going to be able to get the touch here, but Bob going to come out here from Breezy, and you're immediately see 2 kills going away as Shadow here. Now they just need to clean up the rest of Lijiang.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate turn of events there. For Lijiang Legion, Fives was able to get back onto the point, avoiding the Bob, but now it's just Shadow Thief and Jabberwocky, and both are in the spawn room now, and that is going to be Ruins going the way of Shadow Monarchs.
A little bit of a helter-skelter first point here on Ilios for both teams. Honestly, Shadow Monarchs able to come out on top. They had that better comp there, in my opinion, that brawl comp that they kind of excel with, or kind of what I expected them to come out with. Really worked well for them after that initial comp they came out with kind of fell apart really fast. Lijiang, though, they did have some good points on that first sub-map there, but just weren't able to really put anything together. Some overuse, maybe some overinvestment in ultimates, maybe playing a little bit too aggressive. The Winston, I still don't think necessarily was the right pick for them there, but you know, they were able to find some kills with it, some success with it, just not enough there in the end. But now, as you see, we head over to Lighthouse now. Some swaps going after Lijiang Legion. They're sticking with the ball comp, and Random Ragers playing the Tracer here, but you do have that Pharmacy combo, and we look over at Shadow Monarchs. Unless it's going to be Water or Breezy spending the time to try to get rid of that
oh my god!
In the sky. Oh!
So, I guess Shadow Thief was ready for the TP, if you couldn't tell. Rolling through the Shadow Monarchs and throwing them into the water. Shadow Thief's still trying to find these kills, but has to get out eventually. But, I mean, that's as perfect of a start as it could have been. But Water comes back, kills Potato Lord in a spot where Jabberwocky can't get there and res.
And look at Shadow Monarchs right now. They made some swaps to try to deal with that Pharmacy combo in the sky. They already did shut down Potato Lord here, but Jabberwocky has to wait for them to come back here. Now they're just trying to hold on to this point as long as they can. And Leapfrog getting the hack there on the Shadow Thief. It's huge. Random Rager?
Random Rager? No recall, I guess? That's unfortunate. So after such a strong start, Lijiang Legion, you know, in the face of that Sombra now with Breezy on the Soldier, I mean, they just kind of fell apart, and Random Rager fell off the map, I guess.
Yeah, and you have to look at Potato Lord here. Unless they swapped off real quick and then decide to go back to that Pharah, I mean, only 34% on their ultimate charge right now. Not a lot there, especially for getting 2 kills very early, and they're going to be taken out here early again by Breezy.
Yeah, res does come through from Jabberwocky. Not the poem Jabberwocky, but yeah, I mean, the res comes through onto Potato Lord. Now we're gonna see the minefield dropped on the point, and Wildcard, you know, happy to just clear it out, cleaving through with that hammer, but Shadow Thief still rolling through. The beat saved everybody's life right before the shadow went down. Breezy popped the tactical visor, but it's just not enough in an expensive fight that, I mean, they used 3 ultimates in a fight that was lost from the beginning.
I mean, I would say the shatter coming out from Wildcard is not necessarily an ultimate that was that did not need to be used there. That could have saved that fight there if they were able to find any kills off it. But the Amp Matrix and the Visors are definitely. But Water again finding Potato Lord out is huge. This DPS has been able to find. I mean, this support has been able to find a lot of kills, especially onto one half of that pharmacy combo.
Yeah, and they're able to clean up Jabberwocky. So I mean, that Mercy is down and out, and as are both supports now. That Fives goes down. The everybody's back on the point here, but Potato Lord jumps in and goes down immediately, and it's just Shadow Thief left as Water cleans up the Wrecking Ball. And now, I mean, Potato Lord saying, I've had enough. Sea Breezy and Water are just too much. Going on to the Sombra for a more traditional dive, but now I don't. Yeah. Okay, all right.
You see him looking to get the EMP here. Potato Lord swapping off the Pharah did have a barrage ready to go, so it's really interesting to see him go over to the Sombra here, especially with that barrage ready to go. But still, Leapfrog waiting to use their own EMP, and I could see him using it here any moment, especially with how aggressive Lijiang is being here.
Five's trying to jump on someone there. I did not quite see who that was. Got found by Sea Breezy. It's just 2 for 2 here. Random Rager popping the Pulse Bomb and then getting cleaved down by Wildcard. Potato Lord hacked up and EMP'd after Sea Breezy popped the Tactical Visor and helped find 3 there. And, I mean...
Make it 4.
Yeah, 4 for Sea Breezy and Potato Lord... well, not Potato Lord, but Leapfrog showing the prowess on the Sombra right now. And I don't know who gets back here. It's gonna be Random Rager.
Yeah, but you see Shadow Thief make a swap as well. They're able to get the overtime off in time. Taylor finding a huge pick there, but they need to try to get some more here as it is into overtime right now. And if they lose this point, they lose the map.
And Wildcard has the Earth Shatter ready to go. It misses!
Missed.
Just completely whiffed, unfortunately for Wildcard, but fortunately for the Shadow Monarchs, it was not to be for Lijiang Legion. It's going to be Shadow Monarchs taking Ilios.
Yeah, and honestly, like I kind of said after that first point there, once they got over to this Brawl comp, it really worked well for them and kind of shut down Lijiang Legion. And you could say, well, they looked good on the first fight there on Lighthouse, but it was really because there were 3 boop kills that came out, 2 from the Pharah, 1 from the Lucio, and that kind of shut everything down there, as you see it right there. I mean, just a nice play to get everything started there for Lijiang Legion, but after you see Shadow Monarchs make some swaps there, especially going off the Bastion and the Symmetra, going over to the Sombra and the Soldier. It worked out a lot better for them because they're able to shut down that Pharmacy combo in the sky, and they really never found a lot of value. But I could go back and say, well, we did have a barrage ready to go, but they decided to forego that and instead go over to the Sombra, and they really didn't find a lot of value with that there. So I think the kind of indecisiveness with the comps from Lijiang Legion there on that first map kind of hurt them a little bit.
I agree, and I mean the swap onto Sombra. I mean, I am a little bit biased. I like Sombra a lot. I know she's not particularly strong at the moment, but I've seen a couple of really good Sombras recently come out, and you know, EMP got nerfed recently. It's more expensive. But these Sombras are still finding ways to build EMP very, very quickly, and especially with the Wrecking Ball on the field. I mean, that's just a big circle of a target for a Sombra to hit, even if it's, you know, the lockout isn't very long. But, you know, regardless, you're usually not hitting headshots on a Wrecking Ball anyway. That center mass is just so big. So, I mean, it's just when you're hacking a Wrecking Ball, it's such a big ult battery. And we noticed that with Shadow Thief, you know, not dying a whole lot, I don't think, but hacked up for most of that time.
Yeah, and, you know, again, just kind of the indecisiveness for the comps there for Lijiang Legion. Yeah, their tank player's favorite tank to play is that Wrecking Ball, but I don't think that was really the right pick there for Lighthouse. Yeah, they're able to get some kills there, just, you know, riding through the point there. But at the end of the day, you were being countered so hard by that Sombra there for the most part that it really wasn't a big help to your team. And they did make the swap over there to D.Va at the end, but it was a little bit too late to get any value out of the D.Va there. But heading into our next map here, you really do expect to see something a little bit different out of Lijiang Legion, and they want to bring us to King's Row, a brawl map, which is what we primarily just saw the Shadow Monarchs play. So this is going to be a really interesting map pick for them because of that reason.
Yeah, basically what I'm expecting is either the Zarya or the Orisa. I think the Junker Queen could work if you're really, really confident in your synergy with your team. You know, those shouts providing a little bit of extra health and speed for the engages. But, you know, I also, to be fair, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams broke out the Reinhardt again. We saw it from, was it Shadow Monarchs?
Shadow Monarchs.
Yeah, it was Shadow Monarchs. Yeah. And so, I mean, they looked really, really strong on that Reinhardt rush. So, I mean, if I'm the Shadow Monarchs, I'm like, I like Reinhardt, so I'm gonna play Reinhardt.
Absolutely, and you have to remember that's their tank player's favorite tank to play. So they're very comfortable with the Reinhardt. Would not be surprised to see the Reinhardt on basically the brawl map of all brawl maps here in Overwatch. But you know, I'm thinking more and more about this pick here, and especially, you know, we saw some Wrecking Ball played there for Lijiang Legion, and Lijiang Legion, or the ball comp here on King's Row, especially the first point, can catch some teams off guard if you want to play it incredibly fast, but you have to make, like, it all really comes down to where the other team kind of sets up. Do they set up behind Hotel, or do they try to set up on the high ground? If the team set up on the high ground, I don't think that ball comp can really work. If they set up on the low ground, that ball comp can work because they can just roll through, get a lot of disruption in there, and try to hope that some of their teammates clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, so it looks like we're gonna see a bit of a swap here. It's going to be Daft in for Breezy on the DPS line. So maybe they do want to run something a little bit different here, or maybe it's just they're more comfortable with Daft in the rush that they might want to play. So we'll see what kind of effect this swap is going to have here as we get into the map in just a second.
Yeah, and you have to remember, Breezy made a huge play there, or a huge swap there on Lighthouse, going over to the Soldier, kind of, you know, providing a lot of damage and a lot of help for their team, shutting down that Pharmacy combo there. And we saw him there get 3-4 kills towards the end of that round there. So seeing Breezy come out here, definitely, like you said, probably for a reason here. Daft coming in, I imagine they play a certain type of hero that the team is kind of looking to set up here on King's Row.
Yeah, looks like somebody's having a little bit of an issue. But yeah, I mean, maybe May. I wouldn't, you know, be surprised about a May swap here. It's always been, you know, really, really synergistic with the Reinhardt or whatever rush you want to play. You can control those sight lines where people can and can't go, and help, you know, with the help of the Lucio, run people down to the people that are blocked off by the wall. And obviously the wall, since Overwatch 2 has come out, it's a little bit weaker, a little bit less HP, but it's still a very, very effective tool at slicing up the map and controlling, you know, like I said, where people can and can't go. So I expect a May, and she did get buffed pretty well in this most recent patch. You'll have to excuse me, I don't have the patch notes right off the top of my head, but she did receive a pretty sizable buff, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they want to run out on.
Yeah, I believe it had to deal with her deep freeze that it now could be triggered by a quick melee as well. But, you know, bringing up the May is a really good point here. And you said cutting off the map from players, but it's specifically cutting off the tank away from everyone else on their team. That's what you see a lot here on King's Row when you see a May come out. They're mostly just there to try to pick off the tank, get them away from the rest of their team, get rid of the tank, and then the other team has to really make that decision of, do they continue with the fight, or do they try to rotate out and keep themselves alive so that the stagger isn't that bad there. But still, it's going to be really interesting to see what Shadow Monarchs come out here on the defense. And hey, you 100% nailed it there. They're bringing out the May here. Leapfrog is Daft coming in on the Sojourn, though. I do like the pick there, but again, Breezy played a really good Soldier, but maybe Daft is a little bit better on the Sojourn. But for Lijiang Legion, they're teasing us with a dive comp here, but with what their two DPS are kind of running here, I don't necessarily expect to see Shadow Thief stick on the Winston, but Jabberwocky, Jabberwocky on the Ana is that one thing. Never mind. Jabberwocky going over to the Bastion now. I don't think they're going to stick on the Winston here. I don't think this is probably the right thing
This should be an
to
Orisa,
try
right?
to play into this team.
No, just a little bit of
Looks like they're
scouting.
maybe
Just a little bit of scouting, I think. All right, yeah. Sigma, I don't hate it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But still, the biggest thing that they have to deal with here is leapfrog. Because if they wall off Shadow Thief away from the rest of their team, it's going to be one quick kill and a good start for the Shadow Monarchs.
Yeah, and already pressing this issue around the statue in the face of Wildcard is Shadow Thief. Nobody falling just yet. Shadow Thief able to stay alive with the help of the BAP and Iari. A lot of healing output between those two. Wildcard already has 60% to the Earth Shatter. But it's going to be Fives that starts us out with a pick on to Vex, who I guess we just didn't notice is also coming in here. But an unfortunate pick on to that Lucio. And now Lijiang Legion walking forward and taking the space. And probably at this point gonna be point A. Unless these players can stay alive in the back here.
I mean, you're seeing Shadow Thief and Random Rager go up here trying to make sure that there is no kind of recontest here from Shadow Monarchs, and they're doing a good job of it, but you do see them slowly come back, right?
Oh my god!
Huge shatter, hits 4!
4 on their backs from the shatter of Wildcard, and that is why you back up and play safe, right? Everybody from the side of Shadow Monarchs that didn't die early on, backed out, got around the corner, stayed alive, and waited for Wildcard and Vex to come back, and it proved to be colossal. Wildcard putting everybody on their backs.
Yeah, and that kind of comes down to the comps thing here. If Shadow Thief was running a Reinhardt of their own or an Orisa, they could have tried to pressure Shadow Monarchs there at Archers, but because they're running a Sigma, they had to fall back immediately once they saw him engage through Archers there, and it just didn't work out. But the Flux comes out, it hits 4.
Yeah, and Potato Lord throwing in the Dragon just for good measure, and they're gonna get the point here after what was a pretty good retake for Shadow Monarchs, but a couple of ultimates thrown out by Lijiang Legion, and they're going to go to streets.
Yeah, and Lijiang Legion, though, only using 2 ultimates is huge for them. Shadow Monarchs gonna come up to 3 ultimates as well in this next engagement, but if Random Rager and Fives can kind of combo up here and find some kills with their own ultimates, they can kind of help Shadow Monarchs get started. But Fives actually on cart duty right now, so it's gonna be Jabberwocky up front trying to do whatever they can with their ultimate and healing.
Yeah, and we're gonna see the engagement here from Lijiang Legion, the window out from Jabberwocky, forcing the Shadow Monarchs to go around and up the stairs. Potato Lord trying to put in those arrows onto those on the high ground, and wait. Huh?
Wildcard just charge Shadow Thief out of getting frozen.
That's
there.
crazy. That's so unlucky, but Random Rager going to get traded out here for water, and a beautiful block on the Captive Sun by Wildcard, who has another shatter here.
Yeah, that Captive Sun there, I don't think needed to be used if you're Lijiang Legion. You're already kind of losing that team fight there. Yeah, you had your tank and I believe your other support there as well. So maybe you thought, you throw that out there, find one pick, you can wait for your teammates to respawn and immediately come back. But now you're at such a disadvantage when it comes to ultimates. Potato Lord, their Dragon Strike has to be huge. But you look at Shadow Monarchs, 4 ultimates ready to go here. Daft's been holding on this overclock for a while. But like you said, Wildcard having their Shatter ready to go here. We saw what it did last time. I imagine it could do the exact same thing again.
Yeah, but it's going to be Death that starts us off here with a pick onto Potato Lord, popping the overclock. Shatter comes out, and it's going to be good for 2 kills there from Wildcard. And Daft cleaning up 2 with the overclock. And I mean, only 2 ultimates used there still. I mean, that they're able to win these fights with only 2 ultimates at a time. They're going to look good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about rotating through your ultimates right now, using one, build up another, and like you said, only use 2 there, still holding on to 2, and very close to a Blizzard here. Lijiang Legion only coming up on their Flux now. They do have a Dragon, so maybe try to split up some people for Shadow Monarchs here, but it needs to try to find a kill to get something going here, and you see Shadow Thief get sanctioned off from the rest of the team, but they're able to fall back.
Yeah, gets thrown into the wall and throws out the Gravitic Flux. The Flux Dragon not working as well as it did the first time, but you know what is working out? That Blizzard from Leapfrog, chucking it yard all the way to the choke and freezing. I think there was 3 people in it.
Yeah, and you know, Shadow Thief was a little bit too far forward on that engagement there. Allowed Leapfrog to have all that area there to throw out that Blizzard, throw up an Ice Wall, make sure everyone Legion was kind of caught out. You could go back to the Flux Dragon there. Potato Lord maybe put it a little bit too far to the right there, mostly putting it through buildings, so did not get a lot of value. Now Legion, they do have their Amp Matrix ready to go. Same thing for Shadow Monarchs though. But again, Wildcard built up another Shatter already, and the Legion need to find some picks off of this Amp Matrix, and they already do.
Yeah, they do, putting the Storm Arrows into Daft's forehead. And, I don't know if I agree with that airstrike from Random Rager, but, you know, it's already been used. So, one less ultimate in their bank. But Shadow Monarchs coming back with 2 of their own.
Yeah, again, like you said, I agree with you. I don't think that ultimate needed to be used there. It puts them at such another disadvantage. Again, and only 40 seconds on the clock right now. Lijiang coming up only on really that Captive Sun. It didn't find a lot of value last time, but Monarchs have 2 ultimates of their own and already using one here to get stuff started.
Yeah, using that Amp Matrix, able to take down Random Rager. A lot of that damage from Lijiang Legion has been lost. Potato Lord does end up taking down Wildcard. But being down 2 people here for the Lijiang Legion, it's not going to be a smart time to engage. Just going to wait here for this final fight. Now going to walk forward finally, but Water taking down Fives who had the Captive Sun. Potato Lord able to trade it out here. Daft building up really close to this overclock, and Wildcard has the Earth Shatter. Can he stay? He gets out! He gets out! He just stunned! He just stunned Potato Lord! Oh, I thought he stunned Potato Lord out of the dragon. But regardless, a good shatter. Hitting 2 people. Fives comes back with the Captive Sun. But it's not going to be enough, as the Shadow Monarchs are going to stand strong on streets.
Considering how far Legion got there on streets, you have to give them some credit. They got held at arches for a long time there by the Shadow Monarchs. So getting close to point B there is huge for them. They have a little play here now, but the first point defense is going to probably be the biggest thing here for Legion. But Shadow Monarchs, again, kind of showing us why they are very good with this Reinhardt, especially when you only come at them with a Sigma there. Not a lot to stop the shatter there, and we saw a couple huge shatters coming out there from Wildcard. Leapfrog, though, on the May was the difference maker there, in my opinion. Being able just to section off members of Legion, most specifically Shadow Thief, from the rest of their team, and forcing them to either fall back, wait for the team to knock down that ice wall there a little bit so they could get through, or go further ahead and try to bring the fight to them. Really kind of left Legion in a bad spot a lot of times there, and you don't see Shadow Monarchs making any swaps here on the offensive side. Legion, though, Shadow Thief coming out on the Orisa here. That's really the only difference between the 2 rounds here for Legion.
Yeah, so looking to play that bunker down comp, don't die. But Shadow Monarchs looking like they want to run the exact same thing, and I don't blame them. It looked really good on the defense. Leapfrog hovering the Symmetra, maybe just for like a quick TP somewhere? Maybe on top of the statue?
Try TP on a high ground here and then get set up there, force Legion to make the next move, essentially.
Okay, they're going to rotate around the top of the theater here. What can they do with this TP? Nothing just yet. Here it is, like you said, onto the high ground. Potato Lord able to barely escape, but Fives will not. Daft once again taking down the Iari. Daft looking incredibly strong on the Sojourn right now with 4. Can they make it 5 here? No, Water gets the kill onto Shadow Thief, but Daft killing 4 people.
And honestly, this is probably the worst start for Lijiang Legion here. They could not afford to lose a team fight this point as fast as they did in less than a minute. Essentially, yeah, they're going to be able to hold at arches here, but look at Water. 75% to an Amp Matrix. Jabberwocky, on the other hand, only at 25%. Daft. 4 kills in that first one there, 54% to an overclock. So they already have this little bit of an ultimate advantage here at the moment, especially with Water and that Amp Matrix. If they're able to get that off here in the alleyway, it could be, or in streets, it could be exceedingly dangerous, especially with how aggressive Lijiang Legion has to be here.
Yeah, Potato Lord able to clean up on all of the damage put out by Random Rager into the face of Wildcard. Leapfrog, though, on the way out, they're just going to disengage, able to kill Potato Lord, and looking to hold here at this choke, but without Potato Lord, they're going to back up and try and hold this corner here in hopes that, you know, they can hold it a little better. But Shadow Monarchs have 4 ultimates. I guess Lijiang Legion coming up on 5 of their own. So I'm expecting a lot to be used here. We're going to see the window from Jabberwocky and 4 ultimates out from, I think that might be the map.
And at this point, it's going to be the map here, especially as they are just hunting down Random Rager. And yeah, all 4 ultimates that are ready for Shadow Monarchs to use there. I imagine Vex is going to use his beat in celebratory fashion. But no one from Lijiang Legion, in my opinion, can get back out and touch this card. So Shadow Monarchs absolutely putting on a great performance here on King's Row, which you have to remember was Lijiang Legion's map pick.
Yeah, it was, and God, I hope that my curse doesn't keep going. The last, like, 4 matches I've casted have been sweeps. So, like, I mean, a great showing by Shadow Monarchs. They're looking very, very strong on that Reinhardt. Our third map is going to be on a Flashpoint map. And if I have to assume they're going to pick one, it'll probably be Servasa because nobody wants to play on New Junk City, I guess. But we'll find out after the break. We're going to cut it to a short break, only 5 minutes. But stick around and we'll see if Lijiang Legion can bring it back from the brink.
Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
Our inside here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
All right, welcome back everybody to our Grand Masters Grand Finals. Right now, Lijiang Legion on the ropes, Shadow Monarchs up 2-0. Going into Lijiang Legion's map pick on Flashpoint, they actually picked New Junk City, which nobody could have expected because nobody seemingly wants to play that map. But on the other side, Lijiang Legion selected New Junk City, not New Queen Street. But we've got a couple of substitutions here for Shadow Monarchs. Breezy coming back into the lineup, and for the first time in this series, we're seeing Rose coming out onto the tank position. She really does prefer that diva, so that's kind of what we're expecting, right?
Yes, especially going into a Flashpoint map, you want to play a little bit faster than what you do on other maps. You play slow, you're really hurting yourself maybe a little bit later in points, especially if you don't cap first. So like you said, favorite tank is the diva. I'm thinking maybe something divey like a diva or a Winston. Junker Queen is probably the most played tank in my opinion I've seen so far of the tanks on Flashpoint maps. But I mean, we could also see maybe something come out where it's a Zarya, a Ramatra, which we haven't seen a Ramatra yet this series, but maybe we see one here in this map. But we were kind of getting teased there a little bit when we were looking at, from what me and you saw there. It looks like potentially maybe Rose is going to stick with the Orisa here.
I wouldn't be mad about an Orisa. I just if you're gonna run the Orisa, you need to have a Lucio, which Vex played very well last map. So no, it's gonna be the Junker Queen here. A Junker Queen rush for Shadow Monarchs, and for Lijiang Legion, it's gonna be a Winston with a Reaper Symmetra. I assume Random Rager here, probably gonna go over to something like the Tracer after TPing out, but we've been wrong about that a couple of times tonight. So I guess we'll just have to see what these teams are going to do when they come out in just a few seconds. So let's get into it. TP out.
Jabberwocky coming out on the Moira is also another interesting pick here because, again, a support that can do a lot of damage, and you don't really have to be worrying about aim with at least Moira here. But you do see Lijiang get here first, and they need to try to play this advantage as much as they possibly can. They need to find the first pick here, but you immediately see Jabberwocky getting taken out by Daft.
Yeah, I mean, a beautiful first pick there from Daft as they continue to show up on this this Sojourn pick. And I mean, a pretty nice fight there for the Shadow Monarchs. Despite Lijiang getting there first, Shadow Monarchs just proving to be a little bit cleaner. Shadow Thief and Lijiang switching everything up, going to a Sigma comp.
Yeah, and you see Random Ranger go over to the Soldier and Jabberwocky going over to the Baptiste here. And again, the Sigma comp here, I don't know if it's necessarily the right pick, but again, his grasp ability that can eat up a lot of damage is probably the main reason why you're seeing them pick that here, especially with Seabreezy here on this Bastion.
Going with that speed boost and that overhealth. But it's going to be Daft that starts us off again with a pick on to Random Ranger. 18 HP, so does end up falling after that first pick, but I mean, a good start there. Potato Lord, absolute, able to get out and around that window from Jabberwocky, and Five's dropping the beat to stay alive, but without that that grasp from Shadow Thief, I mean, just too much damage from Seabreezy on the Bastion, and that is going to be our first point to
Shadow Monarchs.
Yeah,
and honestly, you have to give Vex a lot of credit there. They used an amp matrix, and you saw Seabreezy get incredibly low. That amp matrix was definitely only used to make sure Seabreezy did not die in that fight there, because Shadow Thief was going hard at Gret's Fun trying to get rid of that Bastion, wasn't able to, and everything just kind of went Shadow Monarch's way after that, especially when you take out the tank there for Lijiang. But now you do see they do have a Death Blossom here ready to go, but Potato Lord needs to somehow get into the back line.
Yeah, and we're gonna move over here to the refinery, and Daft with the overclock still being absolutely lethal with those railgun shots. Random Ranger popping their own overclock, not able to find any value there, and that is going to be the first flip to Shadow Monarchs here on refinery.
And I will say this, Daft started out kind of slow on King's Row, but throughout that entire map, they progressively got a little bit better and a little bit better, but now you're seeing them be at probably the best they've looked so far. Finding picks early in all three engagements so far has really been able to help out their team here, but still, Shadow Thief on this Sigma, as you see Potato Lord try to TP in there, get one, but that's all they're going to get.
Yeah, it is a big pick onto Daft at the very least, but not the overclock, but the Rampage from Rose is just big. I mean, she hits 3 people with the ultimate, and it's going to be a 4K for Rose. And there's only going to be an opportunity for one more fight here on Refinery.
Yeah, and honestly, if you're Lijiang after Shadow Thief uses their Flux here, I would think start maybe making some swaps. It's not working out, especially you saw Rose use that Rampage, hit 4 people there, confirm all 4 kills shortly after. There's really nothing there to cleanse that or to get rid of it. The beat from Fives would have been the only thing maybe that could have canceled out, but they are nowhere close to that. And you're already seeing as Lijiang comes back into this engagement, they're already being taken out.
Yeah, I mean, Daft and Seabreezy doing
Monarchs is doing here, but again, still the biggest thing is Shadow Monarchs coming into this next point here with ultimates in hand. Lijiang only really close to that amplification matrix from Jabberwocky. Five's gonna beat, but there's really nothing else after that. And with how Lijiang has played so far, Potato Lord and Random Ranger, I don't know if they're gonna have enough time here to build up their ultimates.
And what could be our last battle of this series going to go down in the ducts here. Daft and Seabreezy still putting in so much work, finding all of the kills, and Daft with 4 again. And the Ducks' first flip is going to be towards the Shadow Monarchs.
Yeah, but if you are Lijiang, you're at least happy you got the beat and that and the ultimate out there from C Breezy. You are coming up on your own amp matrix and a beat from 5s. You need to be able to try to get something out of them. Vex will be able to instant counter that with their own amplification matrix, and you have to be worried about that if you are Lijiang, as you immediately see Shadow Thief get very aggressive and the amp matrix come out.
Oh. And through that amp matrix, Daft puts Shadow Thief in the dirt. An absolutely dominant performance by the Sojourn right now, and you can see it right now in just what they're doing. You don't even need to see their faces. You can see that that they've got this this win in the bag, at least in their eyes.
Especially with Lijiang Legions, both their supports using their ultimates there. Jabberwocky used the amp matrix a little bit too late there. They already lost 2 or 3 members of their team, so again, another questionable ult coming out from a support in this series. And now Shadow Monarchs are in a really good spot right now. They have their Rampage and their Overclock.
Okay. Potato Lord dropping C Breezy early. That's a really, really good first pick here. But Rose just pulls Jabberwocky back. The Rampage hits 2. The Overclock is good for 2. Can they make it 3? Make it 3! And that is gonna do it! The Shadow Monarchs are not only gonna take New Junk City in 3-0 fashion, they're gonna take the Grand Finals in 3-0 fashion. And with that, they're gonna get an extra win going into the postseason playoffs.
Yeah, Rose, and honestly, a great series overall here for the Shadow Monarchs. I mean, they start off a little bit slow, in my opinion. Lijiang Legion really looked the best on Ilios, but after that, Lijiang Legion really just couldn't slow down anything that Shadow Monarchs threw at them. It was that brawl comp throughout the first 2 maps, and then here on New Junk City, it was the rush comp there from Rose, who honestly, once they got into the Drunken Queen there, looked incredible. They could not shut down the tank play from Shadow Monarchs, and it kind of led to this 3-0 sweep you see here.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody was just firing on all cylinders for Shadow Monarchs. You know, we saw a couple of silly ultimates from Shadow Monarchs, but, you know, bad ultimates happen, bad timing, you know, that's whatever. But for the most part, everything Shadow Monarchs did was right. You know, they swapped over to the Sombra on Ilios to counter Shadow Thief's Wrecking Ball play, did perfect at that. Went on to the Reinhardt on King's Row, absolutely just pushed Lijiang Legion over, and then going in to New Junk City, they played the Junker Queen composition to perfection. Like, I like giving out, you know, player of the match type things, you know, unofficially, but I genuinely cannot pick somebody, just any one person, because I think everybody pulled about the same amount of weight. You know, Daft throwing it down on the Sojourn, always finding picks. You know, the first, if you're going to count on someone to get a first pick, it was Daft with the railguns. And, I mean, what else can you say other than GG's to the Shadow Monarchs? They're the midseason champions.
Yeah, and like I said, when Daft came in on King's Row, they kind of started out slow, but got better throughout that map there. And then heading into New Junk City, they found the first pick. I believe they found the first pick in the first 3 team fights. They're really providing their team a big boost there. But me and you kind of talked about during the break there. It was just, in my opinion, kind of Lijiang Legion's struggle to get rid of the tank there for Shadow Monarchs. That really kind of was their downfall. They couldn't necessarily get rid of them the entire time. And if you get rid of the tank here in Overwatch 2, I mean, the rest of the team slowly starts to fall behind them. But with that tank always being alive there for Shadow Monarchs, they were always going to be able to have a good chance at winning the team fight there. And this is what happens in all 3 maps here tonight. But like you said, it's only the midseason tournament. None of these loss or the loss here for Lijiang Legion will not go onto their record. But it is an extra win here for the Shadow Monarchs, which could help them out later in the season for the real playoffs.
Yeah, and that extra win, it will be absolutely important with the amount of really good teams that we have in CGL. As for Lijiang Legion, they do fall here, but they do get 2 extra map points. So not quite a full win, but their map differential is going to, you know, increase by 2. So, you know, nothing too bad for Lijiang Legions for getting second place here. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Lijiang Legion falling 3-0 to Shadow Monarchs in our grand finals. Shoutouts to our production team And shoutouts to you, Dexatron, for joining me here tonight in this game. And shoutouts to CGL2, which I believe it's going to be our open tier grand finals about to start in just a couple of minutes. So whether you want to just head over there now or wait until CGL1 raids them, you won't want to miss that because it's going to be an absolutely great match between Red Team and Strawberry. So once again, that is going to do it for us tonight, and thank you all for watching, and I hope y'all are have a great night.